Okay, we are live for another DoneJS contributors meeting. I'm Justin. Hello, everybody. I think Julian is going to be starting a little bit late, so we'll just get into everybody's task for what they did last week and what they're planning on doing this week. So I'll start. Last week, I worked on the help Chris on the Can Drive article, which should hopefully go out shortly after this meeting. We also did a DoneJS and CanJS release, which I helped with a little bit. Over the weekend, we realized there was a problem with the CanJS release that we made, so we made another one to fix DoneJS. Next week, I think what's going to happen is, I talked about this with Nils and James and Chris, not Nils, sorry, Chris and James, I think we're going to actually make the first example app because Adam and Jan are joining us. I think we're going to make it get bit. We can all learn from Bitballs together, and then we'll make. Then they can make their individual other example apps after that, without me having to duplicate, teaching everybody about how CAN model should work in a certain, or CAN Connect should work in a certain circumstance. At some point, I still want to make the less and locate hook work. Nils this is related to BitHub, so maybe you can help me finish that off, or maybe we postpone that till next week. And then I want to start actually at some point later this week, have a meeting to actually plan out and start applying to the New York, North Carolina, and Seattle meetups. So we actually start reaching out to those places.
What North Carolina meetup?
Like all the Raleigh and Charlotte ones.
Oh, you're going to apply to those?
Not me, I meant the collective we, I guess, when I said that.
Okay.
So that, yeah, I'm going to go to the New York and Boston ones.
Yes.
You would do the Raleigh one. Yeah.
I've already started a little bit on that.
Cool. I haven't started in New York, Boston, so I guess I'm talking for myself and then checking up that we've all kind of on the same page with it. So let me give Sheriff's, since he's not here. He's still working on can define, making it work with array values. I'm actually not totally sure what that means. He did reach out to me, but I wasn't able to get back to him. I think he's trying to make it can define work with arrays, and I don't actually know if that's possible without still needing a .attr call. It is kind of a problem, but I'm not sure what to do about.
You wouldn't be able to.
How would you make an array observable?
So you'll be able to do, yeah.
With proxies, you can do it because you can just create your proxy object and you could proxy everything and fall through to then go into the actual array. Right? Proxies make it possible, but I don't know if you can have observable arrays that are not CAN lists. Now, my hope is that as like the for of helper could make that a lot easier. Is that polyfilled? Do we know? I mean, eventually we'll have like real iterators in JavaScript, and then we can hook into that. But I've never tried with Tracer to see if that kind of thing is possible. With for of, you could just iterate through it and get each item, and it would reach. We would have access to supply the iteration code that gets the next item. But I don't know if that's something that's like Tracer supports now. I mean, we could just say,
well, symbol iterator.
Yes, and there's ways to make iterators work. I think it is through the symbol iterator. I haven't tried it. Are we echoing? Get some headphones on. But anyways, that is a problem, and I haven't actually talked with him to know what he's actually working on. If that's the problem, it might be unsolvable. So and the open issue on CanJS.com for the problem with the website. I guess, David, you'll talk about that. And then he wants to, Mohammed, or Sheriff, if you do watch this, yeah, just schedule a time to work with me on the array value stuff. And he's going to start working on serialize next for CanDefine. So that's it for him. Hey, Julian, how you doing? Or he left. All right. We'll do David next.
What issue did you mean?
That I think it was related to the. There's a problem with the to-do list on the home page. There's something that I asked Mark to look at, but he must have either not pushed.
Okay. I'm just going to do my update, and then we can see if that's the same we're talking about. Last week, we made two CanJS releases that actually have a couple good bug fixes in it. They were a little bigger. And I finished the plugin generator, which is in a pre-release. It's 07 pre, so that's probably going to be the next one. And then the last day and a half, I added SSL to DoneJS.com, CanJS.com, and all the other websites. Well, ConnectCanJS.com and FunkUnit.com, which are the 4 that are being deployed automatically right now. CanJS.com there was a bunch of things that needed to be fixed because it was still referencing HTTP. So I went through all of those. So the website is working now, and you can reference the release through HTTP and HTTPS. That was another issue that I fixed yesterday. So if you use it now, use it through HTTPS. I know that JSBin enforces that now, so I think we have to change some of the bins. That's what I wanted to talk about today. Yesterday, also, I started the plugin blog post, but like it always is, I wanted to create the sample plugin and found 2 bugs with the generator for creating it, so I'm just working on fixing those, which sadly means that article didn't get very far. But I want to at least finish my example plugin and then write all the notes out that I have, which means I have to fix the 1 or 2 generators things that I found. So that's what I'm going to work on the rest of the week, probably, and a couple other things that probably come up. So let's quickly talk about the SSL stuff, because I didn't see an issue. I just knew that was going to happen eventually. So it's a good thing that we set this all up. We're using Let's Encrypt, which is awesome. It's also updating the certificates automatically because they only last for 3 months. But there may be some changes that I missed that we haven't done yet for migrating it. So the JS bins, are they linking the newest one? They're probably linking HTTP, right? They're not using //
No, they use //.
Then it should just work. I wasn't sure which JS bins.
Oh, so you haven't. Okay.
Well, I didn't have any JS bin that was broken. I know that the ones that I looked at that use // work now with HTTPS.
Okay. The most important ones, if you go to the CanJS AP guides, those are probably guides, and then do the getting started tutorial. Those are the most important ones that need to work. There's links to all of them, like example links.
Getting started tutorial?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So they seem to be working.
Which one is it? Do you have a link or something?
It's just they're all in the getting started guide tutorial. Yes. Hold on a second. In the main page of that, they're links. They're not embedded.
Oh. Oh, okay.
So those seem to be working, but so I think we're probably pretty good. And then I think there's one on the home page.
I think that's a pretty helpful change. And if somebody goes to the website now, it's using HTTPS as well.
Oh, wow. Fancy. Okay.
So also for DoneJS and all the other ones. So I consider that done. We just have to check in 3 months if the automated certificate renewal worked. But
Okay. Cool.
It's good to have that out of the way, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, and for the rest of the week, I'm going to work on the plugin and the plugin guide.
Okay. Yeah, the completion of that will be very important for Nils, because he's going to start taking parts of Bitball or parts of BitHub and making them widgets, like standalone widgets.
So generating the plugin kind of works, but generating a component in the plugin is not as great as it is in the app, because it just throws it in there and then it's like, okay, now do whatever. I think there's like the thing that I want to do is make it added to the import of the plugin so that you can import it. So that's the change that I'm working on right now.
Cool.
So yeah, Niels, when you get to it, get in touch with me.
Awesome. Hey, Julian, how you doing?
Hi.
How
Great.
are you? Great.
Yeah,
Awesome.
great.
You want to go next?
I can. Okay. So I have working on Vagrant. Now I think it's probably done. It works. So I talked to David, and we found out it's working and no bugs. So I start testing. I used Steel Tools and Steel Live reload, but David and I found out that Steel Tools doesn't have this pulling option. So if we mapped a folder into the Vagrant box and change some file from the Windows machine, the Linux box doesn't know it, and the live reload server doesn't reload the page again. So so Steel Tools can't update the page if someone changed. So I talked to Alex, aka White Color. He made some great modules. One of them is Watch a Live server. It's a small HTTP server, but he has this option of pulling integrated, and with his can hot module, we can easily develop pages and change files on the Windows, and the Linux server knows about that and push the new module about to the client browser. This is working great. So this is what I have done yet. And yesterday I talked to Sheriff. I think he's Mohammed. And he's also a PHP developer, and we chat and we talk about how we can make a workflow. So the main problem I have, and Sheriff also have, is to create a workflow with non-SHR server-side rendering, so only a multiple page or a single page app. So how's the workflow? So we chat, and maybe we make some repos where we can bring users or users can clone this repo and see the workflow, how we make from development with at the back end a PHP server. So we with this Watch a Live server from Alex, I can proxy all HTTP files to my Apache server. This is installed locally on my Windows machine, and if the Watch a Live server knows about JavaScript files, he used the Node server from the Linux box. So we can separate the PHP backend from the JavaScript side, and this is great. So Mohammed and Sheriff and I can meet up, can make a meetup and can chat about how we make a workflow. And at the end, there was a build, and I hopefully we can make a build. I talk also to Matthew, or we chat in Gitter short how we can make a build, and some stuff is unclear for me and for I think for Sheriff too. Maybe we can ask you or Matthew about these issues we have.
Yeah. So a question about the vagrant. All that sounds awesome. How do I say this? It's the best thing that we can do with that vagrant eventually is to get it on DoneJS's like setup guide, where it's like talks about different, the Windows installation or the Mac installation or whatever you need to do. We need to get it so there's that vagrant on there. Where is it close to having it be kind of ready so that we could put it on there, or what needs to still be done?
Yes, it's ready. We can. I wait because David made this Yeoman generator, this new one with modules and plugins, and I just waiting until this is finished. I also make this pull request about this this package JSON file where the main config is, so we can leave the Yeoman file away, and yeah, it's working. So I have to update this DoneJS. It's also, I think, on 0.60. So we have updated this DoneJS, and then I can make a short report how you install Vagrant and starting coding. But I think it's more important to have these possibilities to show the user what you can do with this Vagrant machine. So you can build a server-side rendering app, or you can build a single app with a normal HTTP server. HTTP server is also installed, or you make I think we can put three options for this Vagrant: server-side rendering, single app application, or this tool from Alex, this Watch Alive server, which you can proxy to your local machine if you have there an Apache installed. So I think these three options we should have and bring them to the user and show them in the starting guide.
I have two things.
Or is too much?
Well, here, let's share the screen here. So I think we need, I think at minimum, we should get a Vagrant option here that it goes through how to, just like Windows, what does it take if you wanted to run? I think it's really important to make, I think those other things are great and not too much, but I think if we want to get Vagrant into the fold, I guess, of like how people come to use DoneJS, I think it's really important that they can use Vagrant to go through the guides.
Okay.
So I think an ideal situation might be, because if you want people using Vagrant, you want them to be able to come here and say, oh, Vagrant, cool, I'm going to use that, and then I can go through the quick start guide using Vagrant. And if you need to make Vagrant adjustments here, but it should still, I support server-side rendering and things like that. Now, if Vagrant can do all of these other things, I think it's totally fine to put them and list them in subsections under Vagrant on the setting up guide, or link to say, hey, Vagrant can do these things. For more information about what that looks like, please click here, and then it can take you to the Vagrant homepage or its README where it lists the instructions on how to set up those things. I guess, to me, I don't want to confuse I don't want to confuse the users, like with saying, oh, there's all these different ways of using DoneJS, which there are. I mean, you don't have to use even normal DoneJS installed on Mac OS X. You can use it without the server-side rendering. I think those kind of different configuration options should maybe be a guides page in themselves, like, you know, setting up, how do you set up DoneJS so there is no server-side rendering? Okay, or without server-side rendering, or some other functionality, and then it can be broken down into, well, here's what you need to do for Vagrant, here's what you might want to do for Windows, or like, here's what you might want to do for PHP plus Vagrant, or something like that.
Okay, so if you see my screen, I have done this README. So if you want, you can copy and paste this one. So here is a short install and setup guide how you do your Vagrant. So the README is done and it's working. So maybe some fine tuning, but the main links to VirtualBox or Vagrant are there. They are also this box I created is also there. There's a link. And yeah, so if you want, you can copy and paste this README and put it on the setup starting guide, or I can do it.
Well, I would feel more comfortable if you did it, mostly because if I were to do it, I would have to actually go through the whole process of setting it up, and that will take me a long time, because I'd want to make sure that what I'm writing is right. If you could do it, that would be really appreciated.
Okay.
So yeah, when I did it, it worked really well. The only thing you probably might want to take out is MongoDB, because it conflicts if you have it running locally.
Sorry? What do you say, David?
You had the MongoDB server, and I had one running already.
Okay. So
the thing is, like for DoneJS itself, you don't need MongoDB, right?
Yeah. So it's a fully installed Vagrant machine where all stuff you can use it or you can leave it. But do you have only changed the Vagrant file for and change the port?
I don't remember what we did, but yeah, we can look at it again. But everything else worked really well.
Okay. So I write the starting guide and make a pull request, and so you can add these things to DoneJS.
Yeah, it's just in this docs setting up right here, this markdown.
I have two more things. Should we add the option to not enable server-side rendering in the docs in the generator, because it comes up a lot? It's probably the most frequent thing that comes up, people not being confused about how to turn off server-side rendering. And the other one was, Matthew, have you looked at
okay, so here's the problem if you turn off server-side rendering. You need an application server. You need some type of server to be able to see the URLs. If you want push state to work, you need a server that can handle the incoming URLs, and it should be sending back the skeleton HTML.
Yes, but DoneJS Develop could still set up that server, right?
Could it? Without, I mean, it still have to load the. I mean, I guess it could. It would have to load the. It still have to load the JavaScript app in Node, run it to the point where it can actually figure out what the routes are.
No, I just say, okay, if it's a local file, send it out. If it's not, send the index HTML.
No, I think Justin's talking about like routes, like, you know, in the chat guide, there's a chat route. Like, how would that work? How would you be able to go to the chat page?
Yeah, it's just a static file server that instead of showing a 404 when it can't find the local file, sends out the HTML.
Oh, okay.
It's just going to be, wouldn't that just be a little, it would be a little strange if you, let's say you were using that and you put in a incorrect module path,
Yeah, I mean,
and it's going to send back HTML.
Yeah, that was the problem that we had for the longest time.
Yeah, well, could we just turn off push state and use regular hash change instead?
Yeah, maybe in that case, if you don't do server-side rendering, you don't get push.
But then, so I guess what I would say is, we already have this kind of set up. Just make it so that, like, we would just point people at the development.html file, and we could probably set some kind of config that says, hey, if you've loaded from development.html, turn off push state routing and go back to hash change. And then we don't have to have like any other setup. They can just, as long as they're hosting those files, it just works. Does that make sense?
I think so. Does to me.
So, Matthew, did you look at the hop module reload that Alex did? Does hop module swapping?
I didn't get a chance to look at it. No.
So
yeah, that was cool.
That
was cool. I haven't looked at it.
So it's a great tool, I think. So he's probably done his job great. So I think we can implement that and steal some parts of it. It's really cool.
So wait, it just what I mean. I know it does. I know there's two things that it does. It handles the polling aspect of being able to watch the file system, but then it also like is able to serialize a component state and read.
Yeah, he saves component state somehow. So yeah, I mean we definitely could implement that as well to do a similar kind of thing. I think that's what React does too.
Yeah, React is probably a little easier because of the everything's kind of a global state anyways. There's not kind of federated state like in Canada.
Well, there can be for sure. I think in real world React apps there is state.
Federated state. Yeah.
So
okay.
Can we also proxy with Steel or Steel tools?
Proxy.
What do you mean by proxy?
What do you mean by that?
So you have started a server, and the server gets a request, and there's a regex behind the and check the request, and if the request is an PHP file, then proxy serve it to the Apache web server on my Windows machine on the IP.
Yeah. So Julie, let's distinguish a few things. There's Steel, which is the dependency management and loading system, and then there's like the DoneJS develop server, which is it is a proxy. It does have proxying abilities. It also is a file server, and it's also doing server-side rendering, right? All of those things that it does are actually like parts of different projects, right? There's can serve, and then there's which is part of a can SSR, and then there's the live reload server, and then there's all those things are kind of broken out. But I'm sure Matthew has some opinions on this. Like a really good proxy, right? Adding that to can or the development server, or there's also the version of it that's run in production, which I forgot what that is called. Like, is that just what are you when you're in production? DoneJS start. But what do we have a name for that? Like the production?
It still can serve.
It's just can't serve at that point, or is it all can serve?
Development just has it still can serve. Development has like a flag that you add.
Okay, so it's all can serve then. Can serve is like our version of serve. So yes, I guess it's can serve. We really should call that like DoneJS serve.
It should be a different project.
We should make that a different project, and I think what Matthew has had concerns about is like making that something somebody would actually use in production. It hasn't been it's been. He has concerns about making that a goal of ours because, well, once you that's like such a once you have that, like then when you expose yourself to like every kind of thing anybody might ever want for their front end server, in terms of functionality. And I don't know, I'm kind of putting words in his mouth, but I kind of agree with him. I don't know if we want to support all of that. But proxying, I definitely think, is one of those things that we should support, which it does, but it doesn't support it just basically supports fall-through proxying. So if it can't find a request, it'll go send that same URL to some other path. But we could, I'd be okay expanding on that, but I think we have to make sure that like people know that if you're going to use CanServe in a really a production environment, that it itself is not battle tested, and to be careful with that. But it's something that if people go in with that understanding, we can support it and make improvements. But don't expect it to scale to millions and millions of active users all at once. So I don't know if does that answer your question? Like, yes, it does proxy, but I don't know how to feel about that CanServe as a project. But we probably need to do a better job of, I guess, delineating the responsibilities and what's where within DoneJS. Cool.
Okay, perfect.
Awesome. All right, thanks. But by the way, thanks, Julian. That stuff's awesome. I'm really excited. And the reason why I'm pushing so hard for Vagrant is because I think it helps DoneJS to let people know about it, and people might not know about it until it's actually like part of the guide. So
I think your PHP stuff will be pretty important too, because there's so many PHP developers. So there's resources for that. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's audience. Yeah.
And that's something else we could do is, I mean, if you want to make a guide that's like PHP and DoneJS, like that could be one of the drop-down options. I think.
Yeah, maybe I talk to Sheriff and we can make something.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. All right. So, who wants to go next? Matthew?
Yeah, sure. I think last week, I can't remember if in this meeting I talked about the progressive loading package.json. That's what I worked on last week. This week I've been working on getting our guide tests to run in CI. So if you can see my screen, this is the guide test running in Travis. They're now passing, and this got merged in, so we can run the tests just by restarting a build and master. We'll rerun the tests. So you can do it manually now in Travis. What I'm working on right now, today, it's been Windows. So yeah, Windows is not working currently. I've done several tests to try to figure out what the deal is. So there's two. It's running in 0.12 on Windows, and 4.2 are the two that we have set up currently. So it kind of see that the different versions is we get different kinds of errors. I think the stalling is something that David got previously when he was working on this. I am seeing that in 0.12, not seeing that in 4.2. So yeah, that's kind of where we stand there. I'm looking into these. I'm looking into trying to reproduce these right now. So I feel like they'll be a little bit easier to figure out the cause and fix.
Are there
0.12
stats on 0.12? How many node users are on 0.12?
That's a good question. I haven't looked.
It's still used.
I know a lot of
production,
servers
but
for
it
sure.
wouldn't really matter for us because we could just say use.
Yeah, I'm wondering if well, I guess I would say, Matthew, focus more on getting 4.2 to pass. If we have to say 0.12 is like, if we have to come back at that at some point, like because it's not part of our test cycle.
Well, it's not working in CI. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I have definitely done it. Yeah.
Well, we want it so our CI is testing it so as we make changes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really important for us to know. But I'm okay with, very shortly probably saying 0.12 is not officially supported, because I just got to believe that if anybody's starting a DoneJS project, they're just going to start with the latest node. It'd be really weird for someone like, well, I want to use Node 12 on a.
The only thing I would say is that a lot of
project
companies.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I get what you're
Didn't
saying
mean to
too.
interrupt you.
So no,
Yeah,
I
a lot of
agree.
companies do use older versions. Yeah.
But I guess I'm saying if you have to get one to pass first,
Yeah.
let's get 4 to pass first.
Agreed. So I'm trying to get that to just install 4.2 on my local machine here. If I can't reproduce the error here, if it's okay with you, I might want to get another Windows computer that has the same version that they're using.
Wait, why can't you just switch which Node version you're using on your current computer?
No, that is that. That's what I'm doing. I can't reproduce it that way. It might be the Windows version that's the difference.
Oh,
I
the
don't
same
know.
Windows version.
Maybe, I don't know.
What version of Windows are they?
I know I can't recreate this one locally.
What version of Windows are they using? 7 or something?
I don't know. I haven't looked. I
Hmm.
haven't looked. Not sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying. I'm doing it right now. I'm trying to recreate this.
Okay. Hopefully you can, or hopefully you can debug what the problem is on theirs. I know David had a lot of problems with it, but hopefully it's different on 4. Cool.
All right.
Anything else?
Not for me.
All right, Chris.
Hey, okay, so last week I worked on more CanDerive article stuff. That eventually meant that I had to create a lot of benchmarks to populate some graphs that we were working on. So I built this kind of like simple, currently broken or blocked right now, interface for running various different types of benchmarks. Both CanDerive, native, virtual DOM, CanDerive plus, stash, so on and so forth. With all of those, I was able to generate a bunch of different charts, which you'll hopefully be seeing soon in the article. And then also while I was working on that, I found potentially a small memory leak, which I'm looking into now. I feel like I'm making good progress on that, so I'm hoping to have that sorted this afternoon. And I think for the remainder of the week, after the article launches, and maybe next week, I'll be working with Justin on the open source apps.
Cool. Nils?
Hey everybody. So I've been working on since the start of the week on some CanJS issues for the next release. One of them was re-implementing can is promise so that it would work for browser promises. The old implementation was the same as is deferred, and that would fail for browser promises. So some changes were made there, and is deferred got deprecated at the same time.
Did you make the little documentation changes?
Yeah, there was a
to show up?
document change to go along with that.
Cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that's in a pull request, and that's up to look at. Then the other issue I have a pull request out for is a double update that would happen to a map that was bound to can route. So if you had can routes and you would update it with a integer, you would update the backing map with an integer. It would cause the map to update twice because it would update once, and then can route would get that update and it would convert it to a string and it would update the map again. So you kind of get double updates. So that was changed so that instead of the string coercion happening in can route instead would monkey patch the map that it's passed so that the string coercion would happen in the map. So if you set the integer on the map, it only results in a single update. So that's up as well to review. Then, other than that, I've looked at a couple of other issues that I haven't been able to reproduce. 2 of them from the Apple project that I was just on. Steel issues, I've mentioned them to Matt before, but I haven't been able to reproduce them outside the project. And then there was a CanJS issue, an older one, that I was going to talk to Justin about that I couldn't reproduce either. But it seems like we might have fixed it, so I just want to confirm that. So then the next open issue that I'm actually looking at was 2191, and that was Ilya's issue. I don't think that he was currently looking at it though, so I was getting started on that today. So that's everything I got.
Awesome. James?
Last week I worked on the SVG app. I got the saving all working, the auto saving, the hard saving, all the revision stuff. I got started on doing the main page of the app when you first load it, where it lists all the different rooms, the pre-planned and the recently saved, and the search and blah blah blah. We ran into a can route issue and got derailed pretty hardcore, and now I'm working on converting the can models that I was using into a can connect based approach.
Any way you can share the test? Share your screen and show the test real quick.
Sure. Can you see my screen?
Not yet. Now we can.
Yay. Okay. The test is right here that you. The first.
So yeah, this is kind of what James is kind of working towards, is a test that actually tests a model test that actually tests the backend service layer. This is something that I've done on like our FarTrack app, that we actually had the same test fixtures and the backend, which works amazingly well if you set all of that up. But the idea is here, you can see he wants to destroy. He's got basically a database full of rooms, and the idea is he's going to clear the database every time, and then be able to reinitialize it with some dummy placeholder rooms. That's what's happening in module setup, even though those objects aren't filled out for the create list data to say, hey, server, create all of these instances all at once. And then the idea would be he'll, see that he can get one of those rooms by doing the room plan get list. Then he can try to create a new room, make sure that he can still get it back from the get request of the server, make modifications to it, and make kind of a clone of that room. And this way he can actually have a service layer test, but done with basically with client code, which I actually think is a really nice thing, because the client code is the consumer of the back end. So this tests that integration really well. I think this will be one of the kind of showcase features of the room planner guide. So that'll be cool. Thanks, James. Anything else?
Nope, that's my status.
Awesome. Thank you. And then last but not least, Ryan. You're muted.
Yep, sorry, I couldn't get the thing to show up. Let's see, yesterday I was on a client project, but Monday I got all the code changes, ripping out EJS and Mustache done. And there are one or two tests that are still not passing. I'm kind of not spending too much time on those until I can pair with one of you guys. I investigated them a little bit, and then I'm still going through and removing references to EJS and Mustache within comments and documentation. So, but all the code changes have been made.
So, actually, I think, Ryan, there's one more thing I'm going to ask you to do with all of this,
okay,
which would be really cool. Well, is to get it so that 3.0.pre is actually out, like published to the documentation, which actually isn't hard. The docs will set that up for you, and then we'll probably talk with David to maybe even get a release.
Okay.
Which I think would be really cool to say, hey, here's a pre-version of CanJS 3.0. It's basically CanJS, but only Stash, and Stash is the default template engine. on components, and you could start using it right now, even though all APIs might change. But at least people could start using it if that's what they wanted.
All right. Then I'll probably separate the docs out, go ahead and push up kind of what I have, get the one or two tests kind of fixed so that the code is actually working, so that I can just focus on just doing the docs, because from a quick glance, I think it might take a minute to get all the docs updated and all the examples and everything. So.
The mainline doc, you're talking about like the main CanJS docs to remove EJS from all of them.
Yeah, EJS and Mustache.
Okay.
Just links.
I would say like all right, once you start working on, I would say finish the EJS and Mustache, get those on their own project first, and then once it comes time to actually fix CanJS's new docs for 3.0's docs, let's talk about it, because let's kind of estimate the burden there if you're seeing some things that I'm not. I mean, I expect it to take like a day or two, but it shouldn't take longer than that, I would imagine.
Yeah,
so pull out all those docs.
I'm going to have to go through it and rewrite like dozens of examples from EJS to Stash. It should go pretty quickly, but I just don't know.
Where are those examples?
I've done some even just on the demo pages so far. I had to convert a lot of like demo pages that were using EJS or Mustache over to
like where are they?
Anywhere.
As far as with the docs, you mean?
Yeah, like where? I mean, where is this page that's showing that? Like, is it part of?
I guess what I'm saying.
Nothing component should be showing EJS.
I haven't gotten there yet. As far as the docs go, I don't know how much of the docs write like huge templates and examples and so forth in the old languages that need to be converted.
I can imagine some of the guides do, but there shouldn't be many docs that still do it at this point. I really hope not.
I guess when I say docs, I'm referring to anything not code related, like guides, the inline comments and everything.
Let's connect and just show me what you're seeing at some point, and we'll talk about it. But I think that'd be really cool to actually start making 3.0 releases. Speaking of which, Prashant, he's still working on removing can model, and that way people can actually see like, oh, here's a 3.0 without can model.
Cool.
That kind of stuff. Cool. Anything else?
Just a little change. There's the changes to can simple DOM when you could pull that stuff out of VDOM and put it into can simple DOM. Caused an issue on the client project that I'm on, and fixed an issue that I had already fixed prior to the changes. So
sorry about that.
No, it's okay. No big deal. I couldn't write a test before. Now we have a test for it. So
awesome.
The way it was implemented before, we just didn't have a way to test it. So
yeah. Cool. All right. Anything else?
That's it.
Awesome, everybody. Thanks so much for being with me. Thanks, Julian.
I have some question. Can I interrupt you?
Yeah.
So how's about Bubble? I saw some issues, and we are using Bubble standalone now for Steel. Or Matthew, could you?
We're not. That's the plan. We're not yet. We will though.
So,
when we get the upgrade done.
Is there a plan to compile or transpile code server side and push it, compile to the client? So, but I have this problem if I start this DoneJS app and use the server side rendering and switch to pages. So there's the client or the browser needs a long time to get all the package JSON files, to compile all the files. So it's a bunch of time. So is there a plan for compiling the JavaScript files on the server?
Yeah, we have that. We have Still has a watch mode that basically it constantly does a build. So you could use that if you don't like the you don't like the loading individual files in the client.
So, but there's no plan for Bubble 6 and integration on the. Well, Bubble 6 don't have this standalone or don't have this browser. I think they have removed that.
No, there is. They don't have one, but there's a third-party one that we're going to use.
Okay, so but the plan
There is.
but the plan is to compile on the browser still.
Well, no. Well, you can do either one.
In the I think the answer is in the short term, yes, to compile in the browser, because partly we rely on live reload to make development experience palatable when you're doing compilation on the in the browser, right? Because you should only have to compile once, and if you're not changing that file, hopefully live reload is smart enough that it can, you're not having to refresh the browser very often in your development when you're doing development. Now, that would be great if that were actually always the case, but of course, sometimes you need to reload, and sometimes just things are, you could have a humongous file that will actually almost lock up the browser, depending if you're doing like SAS or something like that. I think Ryan experienced this. So I think long term, especially if you're using NPM, is we probably do need a strategy to say like, we will probably need to add some strategy where we can build a probably write out to node modules within node modules, like an analog of every single file that's been transpiled. And maybe even make bundles for them. If we say, hey, all of this is loaded for this package, we're going to build all of that into a bundle and stick it somewhere in that node modules file. So if like someone reinstalls node modules, it goes away. And that way we can kind of maybe maintain a mapping to make things load a little faster. But if you do that, then you still have to run you'll have to run DoneJS develop or some kind of server to make that happen, to be able to manually update the config. But it might be doable. So that's stuff that we could do. It's just I guess I would say that our first focus is to make it so that the live reload should be solving this problem for people. And then if live reload, you find bugs and we can't make live reload, it's so painful having to reload everything, you're still having to do it even with a good, really solid working live reload, then we can start exploring and putting some emphasis behind these alternatives.
But Alex, also aka White Collar, he did it. He compiled this Bubble 6 at the back end at the node server and transport or serve that to the browser. So with his WatchAlive and HMR, I think, module he write, he can transpile Bubble 6 at the server, and live reload is working. So maybe we can ask him how he do it, or how he did it.
Wait, I guess those two things are. To me, I see those things as too independent. Like that wouldn't. What I'm talking about wouldn't have anything to do with live reload. Maybe I wasn't.
I think he's just individually compiling ES6 on the server, but he's still delivering all the files to the browser, if that makes sense. He's just pre-compiling them on the server rather than having still do it.
Yes. So he's pre-compiling with Bubble 6 at the server.
Yeah. I mean, that's okay, I guess. I don't see an advantage. We have that ability because we have, like I said, we have continuous builds. So if you do a continuous build, you're getting like a fully built project all the time in development. So you will get ES6 compilation on the server that way. So we have that.
I think the easiest thing, Matthew, would be is we just have a plugin that it's going to do the build, but it's only going to build out stuff that's in node modules. And it's going to write one side configuration file next to package.json, maybe being like bundles, and all that's going to do is essentially add another bundles config for development mode to say whenever you're loading CanJS, you're just going to go to anything in CanJS. You're just going to go to this bundle written out inside CanJS, and you'll load that, which is already kind of precompiled and already built as a bundle in AMD. And that would be the easiest way of making it happen. And then anytime package.jsons change, like you could set up a watch so it just has to redo this anytime package.jsons change, basically. It builds up a side bundle. And that would be a really simple thing to write, I think.
Yeah, we have an issue for that already. I mean, I want to do all this stuff, all this like making steel faster stuff. I'm like in favor of almost all of it. Yeah. I think we want to do some service worker stuff that makes it faster with caching stuff we've talked about. So we have a lot of ideas.
But the big thing, and maybe I wasn't making myself clear about this, Julian, is conceptually, if you have a really good live reload, you don't need any of that pre-compilation stuff. Because you will let your browser go that one time. Sure, it takes 5 minutes. That sucks. But you will never have to reload your page again.
Yes,
conceptually.
right.
Conceptually. Now, I know that's not true in reality, but I guess that's like, because I think that conceptually, I want to first make sure our live reload is like, oh, it's super good, and maybe I feel like personally, if we make live reload work perfect and handle all circumstances, then this complaint somehow or this issue goes away, because people are like, oh, that first time I loaded it was slow, but then you just totally forget about it because live reload is so fast.
But you talk about a single app or a server-side rendering app. If you have multiple page app, so you switch your page, and all time you have to write, okay,
I get what you're saying. Okay, you're right.
And then the site, is there.
Okay, I get it. Okay, so that's actually a really good point that I hadn't thought about. Okay, that's a good enough point for actually me to change my mind. Good point.
Okay, so I'm done. I'm finished.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Maybe once the Vagrant stuff is done, maybe you could work with Matthew to make something like that happen.
Yeah, great.
Well, Julian, there's an issue on the DoneJS forums where I talked about like SteelJS roadmap, like kind of the roadmap stuff. So if you want to comment and put your ideas on that, that'd be awesome.
Okay, maybe we can pair, and the one thing I want to know about is how Steel tool works. So I'm not too deep into this code, so maybe we can talk a bit, and you can say, oh, okay, so there's the loader, there's the system config file, and system.js and whatever, and maybe I can help you in some terms.
Okay.
Maybe Matthew, you could set up like you could do one of the trainings. You could actually just walk through the DoneJS code, like a how it works kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
sure.
Okay.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Anything else? Great meeting, everybody. See you next week.
This was a good one.
Thanks.
All right. See you all.
All right. Bye.
Night, Julian.